Wow, what a mess. Something is broken on YouTube tonight. It will not let me use my remote camera over there, so I'm going to have to actually pick up the laptop. And it starts out just fine and then goes to crap really quick. I don't have a lot. We'll have to unplug this thing to move it around so you guys can see what we're going to do. Seems to be working okay from the camera on the laptop. And I apologize for all these technical difficulties, but a lot of this stuff is out of my control, but we will try to fix that for you in the future. All right. So I'm going to give it a minute or two, let everybody try to refine this live stream, which has been a daggum mess. All right. Again, I apologize for it, but again, a lot of that's out of my control. And I'll try to film it with the little camera on my laptop instead of the nice Logitech one I have up there, which we've done live cook with that before with the same computer, had no problem. I don't know what's going on with it right now. So anyway, Chip Signal, appreciate you being here. Outdoors Kids 13, appreciate you. Robert Cole, the bat flu has infested YouTube, and along with me too. Appreciate you, Robert Cole. You was over on already knows that we're back here sheltering in place or quarantining in place with the COVID. So anyway, right back here behind me, as I alluded to before in the previous failed, 2-3 different attempts to get on live with the other camera, which I could pan around a lot easier. This one is a big hunk of meat. All right. 13.84 pounds of superior Angus beef high choice brisket. Okay. And we got the second one over here. Like I said, we got to feed a lot of people tomorrow. Oh, this one's even bigger. Oh, man. 15.82 pounds on this one. Same deal. Superior Angus high choice brisket. Got a hotel pan out here. And I'm going to try to show you without my good camera over here, which I can, control angles and all that stuff on it. I'm going to try to show you how we're going to take this out of the pack and get it ready for the smoker. And that ain't going to be an easy thing to do, trying to film it on the laptop built-in camera. But we'll go ahead and give it a try. Mrs. Backwoods is going to have to keep up with the comments over there because there's no way I'm going to be able to look at that and try to show you how to do this at the same time. So we're going to pull it out of the package that it comes in. And hopefully we won't get brisket juice on the camera. All right. And, if you watched any of our previous videos, you know that this entire surface we have here is a cutting board. And it's actually sealed with cutting board oil. So we don't have to worry about any kind of chemicals or anything like that. It is completely done with the cutting board oil. So Cabella's out here now. She's barking at other dogs. And so that's probably what you're hearing in the background there, which is a little mess. All right. So first thing I want to start with, when I cut these for competition, I want to start with taking off any parts of the brisket that are not pretty. And right here behind the computer, I have an extra pan, and I'm going to put that right back there behind it to catch whatever we trim. All right, Cabela, you're good. We're good. Being a little mess tonight. So any of these little pieces like this that you have hanging off your brisket, those are just going to burn up. So that is a great source of fat and meat for your sausage. If you got some venison this year, killed yourself a deer, whatever, you're gonna save these pieces like this. Cabela, stop it. You're gonna save these pieces like this, and we'll run through the meat grinder and mix that right into our venison sausage. But definitely, I would not throw that away. Definitely keep it. We're gonna put it right over there in a pan like that. All right. Now this side is the fatty side of our brisket here, and you have this portion, which I'm gonna try to show you. I wish I had my daggum good camera here working, but there's this big hump down here by the point, and this is called the deckle. Okay, and it's almost solid fat. All right, and I'm gonna go ahead. I'll take a little pie sliced shape piece of that, and it's hard fat. Okay, this hard fat will not render when you cook it down. Now, that being said, the very first brisket I ever cooked was a full packer, just like this one. This is called a packer when it has the point and the flat connected to each other. I didn't do squat to it. I threw it on a smoker. It was probably one of the best briskets I ever made. Okay, one of the best briskets I ever made. And I didn't do nothing to it. I put it on a smoker, and I cooked it for about 10 hours on a big old offset smoker, and it turned out beautiful. So all this stuff's optional. I'm going to show you how right now. What I'm showing you is how we do it in competition. And in competition, we want to try to trim this back to about a ½ an inch thick. And we want to take all this hard fat that's in here down a little bit. And you see there's beautiful striations and beautiful marbling of meat underneath that. So we want to get that big hard chunk, though, that's in there. And you got to work at it easy. You need a good sharp knife. That's 100% fat right there. Okay, so you just kind of explore it a little bit at a time. You just start to get down to the fat. We're not taking all of it off. We're just taking little portions of it off. Okay, and this is the point end. This is the fat end, the thick end of the brisket right here. And that deckle was not too bad on this one, actually. Okay, now this end down here, this is going to be your flat. And I usually don't do a whole lot with that end of the brisket. I'm going to try to show you that real quick. This end here might have a little more fat than the others. We'll just take and like shave a little bit off of there and see how much we got left. Now, it's hard to see when they come out of the package because they've been in the package for a while. It kind of stains that edge. And these are actually, these days I hear in a factory, they actually cut these with lasers that will kind of conceal that edge. I'm not sure if that's true or not. But since we're on a cutting board, I'm going to go ahead and cut a nice new fresh cut right on that edge of the brisket so that I can see the nice fresh meat in there and not this kind of tingy meat that was showing in the package. I'll throw that over there to our sausage. So now after I did that, as you can see, now I can kind of see more what's going on in here with the marbling and so forth. I'm going to go ahead and take that one little more spot off there just to kind of make it look prettier. All right. And with this high choice brisket, this is the flat, and you can see how much marbling is in that meat. This is going to be awesome, guys. I cannot freaking wait to get chomping up into this thing. Okay. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead, maybe trim off a little bit more of the extra fat up on that end. Now let's go ahead. I got a few loose pieces over here. I said any of the loose little pieces that are kind of what I call stragglers, you want to go ahead and take them off. Also, I'm going to kind of come down this side, kind of, just square it up, make it look pretty, make it a nice straight line, because we're not going to be wasting any of that. All right. It's all going to get eaten, and including the piece that I just dropped on the floor, and little Miss Cabela just scarfing on that. She'll probably, I got a big piece of kind of a mushy fat over there. Anything that don't look good, just go ahead and cut it out at this point. And a lot of people will go ahead and just take a little bit of this top fat off. I don't really get too crazy with it, because that's going to add a lot to your flavor over there. All right. So let's go ahead and flip it over, and so we can see the grain side of it. Getting kind of slippery. All right. Let me see if I can get you over here so you can see the grain of the meat. All right, so now you can see the grain of the brisket and which way it runs. All right, and it's all kind of running at an angle to the flat. So first thing I absolutely want to do is I want to find that grain, and I want to take a corner off of the flat that is 90 degrees to the grain. And what that's going to do for me is, after this is cooked, that's going to show me exactly where the grain is. So I'm going to take that piece off, and I'm going to put it over there on the sausage pile. But now, once this is cooked, I'll still be able to see that cut. And now I know exactly where I need to take my cuts off to make them 90 degrees to the grain of the flat. Okay. So while I got her up here, I see a little piece of kind of hard fat back here on the top of the point. Go ahead and take that off. Believe me, don't be worried about trimming this too much, because none of that's going to waste. All of this meat is going to be used. We'll put it in the freezer, and it'll all come back into venison sausage or burger. Believe me, it makes some the trim makes some great burger. Okay, so what we're doing right now is we're just taking off some of that silver skin, and what I do is I put my knife right up under it as closely as I can, and I tilt my blade. I'm twisting the blade upwards, and then I will get my finger up under there, and I'll slightly pull up on it while I'm slightly tilting my blade up, so that I'm not taking a lot of meat. I'm just taking most of the silver skin, and I'll do it the same way, go on the other direction. All right, and I want to get most of that silver skin and that little layer of fat that's on this side of it, because I want that seasoning we're going to put on it next to have a place to soak into the meat and flavor the meat. And that's going to be a probably one of my best tips I can give you. And believe me, when you that doesn't go to waste either, because that little silver skin and all that will get cut up in the grinder, go into your sausage or whatever else you're putting it in, burgers, and you'll never know that was silver skin. But here, when we're trying to make perfect slices, we want it to kind of look just like that right there. Now that meat is all open. Got one little piece right there. That meat is all open to receive our seasonings. Okay. There's some more up here. So let's go ahead and see if we can get some of that off. Don't worry about fat at this point, because you're going to use that fat for something else, and B, this one has plenty of fat in it. You're not going to have to worry about it. So let me talk real quick about left hand, right hand brisket. This one, you know, we started out on the other side over there, but the deckle. So this one's I think a left hand brisket, which there's a bunch of discussion about whether left hand, right hand brisket's better, but the deckle is actually located on this side of this brisket. I'm gonna try to turn that around and let you guys see it. There's that big hard piece of fat right there. So that is going to actually separate the point from the flat on a brisket. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start taking that bad boy out a little bit at a time. I don't want to, you know, take away any meat. And this, since this is a very high choice brisket, it seems to be pretty small compared to some of the others I've done or trimmed and cooked. But again, it's a very hard fat, but this will render, and you can make a number of things with it. But this deckle actually follows the seam between the point and the flat. So at this point, you kind of have to plunge your knife down there a little bit and kind of take most of that deckle, that hard fat out. This won't render. Okay, it's really hard fat, but I have put that in some cast iron, rendered it down, and then kept the grease from it, and it is awesome on some bread. Okay, all right. So hopefully you can see that, since I'm trying to film on the computer's camera. So what we see now, since I've taken the deckle loose, is this seam, and this seam right here separates the two muscles of the brisket. And what we want to do is we want to try to open that seam up, or open the brisket up from the two muscles. The muscle that runs this on the point actually runs in this direction. I can see the grain in it right there. The muscle that's on top, the flat, runs at 90 degrees to that muscle in this direction. Okay, I'll give you another illustration of where those two muscles separate. So on this side, you can see this fat seam that runs right through there. Okay, so it's another, you see you got this knob of meat hanging off right there. We'll go ahead, just to make this all, just beautiful. Go ahead and take that off also. All right, guys. Sorry. We should call this live stream cooking with COVID. Okay. So, give me a second. Eyes are watering here. The next thing I do with the competition brisket is I want to open up the flat from the point on about the first quarter, 1/4 of the point, so that I can get some seasoning down in that point when it's on the smoker. So we already see a very defined line of where those two muscles come together, especially on this high choice brisket. And it actually comes around the other side. I can see it there too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and gently come down that fat seam and kind of peel it back as we go. And now you can see it's just all white fat coming up there, right? And that's that fat seam, and we're kind of falling on both edges. Okay, so I want to pull that back a little ways. Now I'm starting to hit some lean, so I'm going to stop right there. So that's kind of where this is the flat, this is the point. I'm going to go ahead and maybe just shave a little bit of that extra fat off of there. Okay, because I want to be able to get some seasoning up in there. And, you know, that seasoning is not going to really do much on that fat. I want to kind of trim it down till I just start to see a little bit of the meat poking through. Not completely. I don't want it to be completely lean. I don't want it to lose all of its fat flavor. I'm going to do the same thing down on the point. That point's what we're going to make our burn ends out of. And that's going to be coming up later. And hopefully we can fix the other camera to make that work. I mean, it worked just fine last time. I don't know what's going on with that. But we're going to take some of this, again, this is kind of a hard fat down in here. And if it stays really, really thick like that, it's not going to completely render. So we're just kind of carving down and taking a lot of that fat out until we see a little bit of the marbling and striations. I hope you guys can see all that. Striations of the meat. We don't take it all out, obviously, but we do want to get down to where that, you know, the fat's not going to absorb the seasoning, but that meat will. So we'll go back over here on the flat. That seems to have a little bit extra there too. All right, that's going to be some great fat to put in our venison sausage right there. I mean, that's some great fat right there. Used it a lot of times in the past, and going to make some great sausage. So basically that is done right there. I mean, other than just making it pretty, that's going to be pretty good right there on that brisket. We got most of all that fat seam out. We got her squared up. We got our reference point back here to know where we're across the grain. We got a lot of that fat that won't render out of there. Might need to be maybe a little bit more, because since this one is high choice, right there underneath that flat, we'll get that out of there. All right, so we're only going to do this one here tonight on live stream, especially since we've been having all these issues trying to get our camera to work. So hopefully I don't get none of this seasoning all over the computer, because it's got some salt in it, and electronics and salt don't necessarily go together for sure. And again, excuse me if I got a little sniffles, because like we said in the last live stream, I am a little bit sick right now, so again, not really worried about contaminating anything right now, because every bit of that stuff is going to get cooked to a minimum of 203 degrees before it goes anywhere. All right. So let me back this off, because I do not want my very expensive computer to get any salt on it. Again, we're on the cutting board here, so I'm not really worried about cutting board. It's wood. So we're going to turn it over back to the fat side first. Go ahead and flip that joker over. And I'm going to give it a very liberal coat. This is our Backwoods Gourmet competition steak and brisket rub. Is good on everything, not just steak and brisket. Once this renders down, I will try to leave you guys a link to our video on the proportions of seasonings to make this. If you don't want to do that, basically salt, pepper, garlic will work just fine for you. All right. So that looks pretty daggone good right there. So go ahead and flip that bad boy over. And I want to flip this back. I want to make sure this is the flat side. I want to make sure I get plenty of seasoning down in there between where we separated the point and the flat. Okay. Get some seasoning down in there between them two. Then we'll flip it back down. Then we'll season the top. All right. Keep this coming out of there. And don't be scared to put some seasoning on this. All right. Each person is only going to get a little bit of that seasoning in a slice. Okay. So whatever little slice they get is going to be way just a little bit. Okay. You can do all the edges. You can, here we're on the cutting board. We'll just kind of, this is all over the cutting board now. We just kind of dab up on the edges there. Stab up what's left. And meat will kind of pick it up and won't have so much to clean up. All right. So there you go. That's how we trim competition brisket. And the next thing we're going to do, we already got the smoker going out there. Okay, I got it preheating 250. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get the other one ready. We're going to do the same exact process to it. We're going to put the exact same seasoning on it. And so we're going to work on this, see why this camera somehow now doesn't want to work with my computer. And hopefully, if I can get that to work, we will be back live in about an hour. I need to have these on by 10 p.m. Eastern tonight. So if they're ready when service is tomorrow. But if they're ready, if I can get the camera to work, because I doubt the computer camera will work out there in the dark. But if I can get it working, we'll see you back here in a little while. So I appreciate everybody who showed up, commented. I have not been able to keep up with your comments, answer any questions or anything like that. But if you will leave a comment below after the live stream, I will get back to those, I promise, and try to answer any questions you may have had during the live stream. Hopefully, Mrs. Backwoods has been in the live stream, and appreciate Chip Signal for $50 super chat. Man, you're one of my heroes over here on these live streams. Appreciate it a lot, and at some point in time, we will have to get together and at a campfire somewhere here in North Florida and have a little meetup, have a couple cold ones, and cook something on a fire. All right. So anyway, that's the end of this prep trim. Let me go ahead and get this other one going, and I'll see you back here in an hour or so, and we'll show you putting them on a smoker. My hands are all dirty. I get my mouth full of brisket juice.